Hey Bridgehampton Elementary School, Mr. Barker here, back for our October lesson. As you've probably heard, October is all about National Bullying Prevention Month and how we can continue to keep our school safe and a positive place. But before we jump into that, you know I love to play a game. So let's play a really fun game called Charades Virtual Style. Maybe you know what charades is, maybe you played it before, but if you don't know what it is, it's just acting out something without talking. It's a fun game you can play at home and from a social distance. So hey, see if you can figure out what I am acting out. Yeah, you got it. It was a sprinkler. What do you think? No, I'm not playing the violin. It was the piano. Hey, I bet you can't guess round number 3. I was trying to be a hamster. I don't know. All right, anyway, hey, that was a fun game. Why don't you send me a video of your charades? So we're gonna talk about today's character word. It's a really super important word and it's called respect. Can everyone say respect? You've probably heard it in a song, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Hey, what does that word mean? Respect means you care enough to think about others' feelings before you act. You're thinking about others. Hey, respect is so important because it shows our friends that we care about them. I have a question. How can we show respect to our friends, our family, or even the world around us? Those are some awesome answers. You can respect your teachers by listening to them. You can respect our doctors by wearing our masks. And you can even show respect to our planet and the world around us by not littering and cleaning up and keeping our planet clean. There's so many ways to show respect. But hey, sometimes, unfortunately, when we don't show respect and we start being mean to others, we become a word that nobody really wants to be called. It's called being a bully. You know, when you're not nice to others and you keep being mean, you're gonna become a bully and not a buddy. Showing respect is so important because it shows that you care for others. Hey, we're gonna read a story today about a new boy in school that didn't really know what it means to have respect. Let's check it out now.
The Juice Box Bully by Bob Sornson and Maria Dismondy. As Pete stood in front of his new class, Mr. Peltzer announced, "Let's welcome Pete to our team. Pete, you will be sitting behind Ralph." Settling into his seat, Pete pulled his hat down over his head so that only his eyes could be seen. Turning around, Ralph warned him, "They don't allow hats in class here." "You're not my mother," snarled Pete. After giving an assignment, Mr. Peltzer walked around the class and quietly asked Pete to remove his hat. Once he walked away, Pete poked Ralph. "Thanks a lot," he growled. Later that day at recess, Pete didn't ask to join the soccer game. Instead, he watched. "Hi, Pete," Ralph said. "Do you want to get into the game?" "Not with those nerds," Pete replied. "I don't like those kids." "What do you want to do?" asked Ralph. Pete smiled spitefully. "Let's steal the ball. We're bigger than them. We can have our own game." "I don't think so," answered Ralph. "That's not how we do things around here." "Then I'll do it myself," taunted Pete, "if you're so afraid." Pete ran over to the field and yelled, "Pass it to me!" When David passed the soccer ball, Pete grabbed it and ran off the field. "What's going on?" shouted David. Pete didn't answer. He ran faster and faster, then turned and waved the ball in the air. At first, the kids just stood there. Then they huddled together before walking over to Pete. Ruby and Lucy led the way. "I know you're new around here, but what are you doing?" asked Ruby. "I'm playing with the soccer ball," Pete snapped. "Think you're going to take it away from me?" Ruby didn't argue, nor did she threaten Pete. Instead, she softly but firmly explained, "It's your first day here, so there's no way you could know this. In Mr. Peltzer's class, we made a promise." We promise to take care of ourselves, each other, and our classroom, and to solve problems peacefully. We promise that in this class, no one would stand by and accept bad behavior. When someone acts hurtfully, we all speak up. We want you to be a member of the class and to make the same promise. Dumb rules, dumb promises. Throwing the ball on the ground, Pete walked away. The next day, Pete ate alone. When he finished lunch, the kids raced out of the lunchroom while Pete trailed behind. Ruby ran up to Pete and asked, "Do you want to play soccer today?" "I don't play with nerds." "Okie dokie," Ruby replied. "Hey, Ruby," Pete called after him. Ruby stopped and turned. "Nice shirt," Pete complimented. Then he squirted his juice box right at her. "You are so mean," she shrieked at him. "I'll tell everyone how mean you are. You won't have any friends here." By now, Ralph, David, and some others had come up to them. "Ruby, I won't let you do that," Ralph said clearly. "Remember our promise?" "I don't want to remember the promise. Look what he did. We'll ignore him forever until he leaves the school and goes back to his old school," Ruby demanded. Ralph walked between Ruby and Pete. "We're not going to do this, Ruby. I know you're angry. You can tell Mr. Peltzer if you want, but we're not going to let you treat Pete like this, and we won't put up with his bad behavior either." Ruby stomped away, leaving Pete and Ralph behind. "No one's ever done that before," Pete said. "Why did you stand up for me?" "I've been in your shoes, and I've learned being a bully doesn't work." "And I'm not a bystander," Ralph said. "I don't stand by and let mean things happen. Besides, Ruby is my friend, and you shouldn't have ruined her shirt." "Won't the other kids be mad at you for sticking up for me?" Pete asked. "No way. They all made the same promise. We talked about it for a long time with Mr. Peltzer, and every kid here tries to keep that promise." "At my old school, I got picked on all the time," Pete said. "Everybody just let it happen, so I started to tease kids before they could be mean to me." Ralph replied, "We decided that when someone tries to be a bully, no one will stand by and let it happen. We speak up, or we ask for help from an adult. But we won't be bystanders to bad behavior." The bell rang, and it was time to go back to class. "They hate me. They'll never let me play with them," Pete said. Before Ralph could answer, David, Lucy, and Ruby came toward them. "I'm sorry about what I said," Ruby apologized. "I can't believe I forgot the reason why we made the promise. If we can remember to stand up for each other, school's a lot more fun." "Wow, the kids here are way different than at my other school," Pete said. "Maybe I'll give this promise thing a try." "Great, let's go talk to Mr. Peltzer," said Ruby. "Hey, Ruby, sorry about your shirt," Pete added. Ruby smiled. "No worries, I kind of like the new look." Everyone laughed as Pete and Ruby led the way into class.
Wow, what a great story that shows us how important it is to treat others the way we want to be treated. You know, Pete was being so mean to everyone when he moved to his new school, but in reality, he was just acting the way that his other classmates in his old school acted towards him. You know, when his new class was kind to him and they started to include him and were involving him in different things, he started to change for the better. Remember, the class had a promise. They stood up for each other and they stuck together. I hope your class has a promise out there, Bridgehampton. So hey, I have a few questions from the book that we can answer in a discussion. Number one, when Pete first moved into his school, what was he doing that didn't show respect? Those are some awesome answers. You probably said he wore his hat in school, he acted mean, took the ball away from his classmates, and squirted even the juice box at Ruby. That wasn't nice or respectful. So hey, number two, what did the students do when Pete wasn't being nice? Yeah, when Pete wasn't being nice to the students in the class, they told him how they felt. They said, "Hey, I don't like to be treated that way," and it was really important. Number three, what promise did the class make? This is a really great one. Yeah, the class promised to take care of themselves and each other and solve problems peacefully. No one would accept bad behavior and just speak up if somebody was being mean. And that's a big word called being an upstander that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Now, my last question is, what does it mean to be a bystander? This is a really tough one. What's a bystander? If you didn't know, that's okay, because it's a really important word that we need to know. It pretty much just means standing on the side and not doing anything to help. We should be upstanders instead, not bystanders. Upstanders are people that stand up for each other, just like the class made a promise to do what's right. They were being upstanders. Now, it's all about the golden rule. If there's one thing that you remember today, the golden rule is that we should treat others the way we want to be treated. So who likes to be treated with kindness? Who likes when people are nice to them? I know I do. Maybe they listen and treat you with respect and kindness and the way you want to be treated. That's the golden rule. And remember, that word respect is thinking of others and their feelings before you do something, because we always want to treat others the way we want to be treated. I want to do a quick activity that you can do with your class. Maybe you can make a chart or you can show something. I want to see how we can continue to be respectful, B-E-E, respectful. Now, I want you to brainstorm as a class different ways you can be respectful in your school. Now, the first one, how can you be respectful to your friends? Yeah, you can think about their feelings. You can treat them the way they want to be treated. You can just be kind to them. And that's what you want to do to your friends. What about at home with your family? You can respect your parents by listening to them, doing their homework, and just doing the right thing. How about when you arrive to school? How can you be respectful when you're getting off the bus or you're getting out of your car and going into the school building? Yeah, you can respect others' space by social distancing. You can put away your phones. You can even greet the teachers and staff when you get here. That's being respectful and just saying hello. Now, what about, I know we're not really going to the cafeteria right now or the lunchroom, but how can you be respectful during lunchtime or breakfast time? Yeah, you can wait your turn to be served. You can sit in your seat. You can even invite a friend to socially distance and eat with you during lunch. And now here's one that we all love, recess. How can we be respectful at recess? These are all such great questions and answers. You can include everyone and be kind, not excluding anybody. And if there's a new friend, you can hang out with them, and especially taking turns. These are all ways to be respectful. And my next one is, what about in the bathroom? How can we even be respectful when we walk into the bathroom every day? Yeah, we can quietly wait our turn. We can give others privacy and wash our hands, and not, being disrespectful. The opposite of respectful will be throwing water and doing things that aren't too nice. So it's important to continue to be respectful. Now, my last one, not all of you take the bus, but if you do take the bus, how can you be respectful on the bus? That's awesome. You can greet the bus driver, you can listen to their rules, and just respect the bus driver and what they are saying. So Bridgehampton Elementary School, I hope you know how to be respectful today. I hope you know how to be a buddy and not a bully, and to continue to follow that golden rule, that treating others the way you want to be treated. Because when you treat others the way you want to be treated, you make not only our school a better place, but our world a better place, and just the life around us. So hey, I will see you next time for November's lesson. And if you see me in the hallway, give me a high five, air distance, or an elbow bump. And hey, remember, morning announcements. If you want to be on the morning announcements, send me an email, because we are loving all the stuff your class is doing. Hey, I miss you all so much, and I will see you soon. Have a great day.